I was on mute. Sorry about that, guys. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sister to Sister Connection show. My name is Leticia Campbell. I'm actually one of the co-hosts for this amazing show. My amazing co-host, Ms. Twonta Davis Jones, is going to be joining us in just a second. But I want to do some really quick housekeeping before we get started. So, Teresa, if you can let me know if everything is coming through correctly, like my sound and everything, because it seems like my internet right when sorry right when we hit that go live button, it looks like my internet was acting up a little bit. Excuse me, so sorry, y'all. So sorry. So again, guys, I'll be right back. I'm so sorry. Oh my god, I'm so sorry, y'all. That was the weirdest thing. Like, I was totally fine before I hit that live button. All of a sudden, I just started coughing and all that stuff. So, hey, Tawanta, girl, I had like a cough attack, honey.
You did?
Yeah, I just kept coughing. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the dust and stuff. But yeah, hello. How you doing, love?
I'm well.
Yeah, I'm well. Like right when we hit go live, I just started. I had to go get my water bottle because I just started coughing like crazy. But yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm good. I'm good. So hello, guys. Hello again. Sorry about that whole coughing episode.
Oh, we all. Oh,
yeah, girl, we on live. It's 7 o'clock. We are live. We are live and in charge. Can you hear me good? Is my sound good?
Oh, good grief. Yeah, I can hear you. I'm child. Ooh, hey, y'all.
Girl, with me coughing and you like, hey, we live. Yeah, we live, girl. You came right into the building.
Oh.
You came right into service.
I did. Oh, just late.
Yeah, that's fine. That's perfectly fine, y'all. So y'all please pray for this cough that I don't know what just happened with all this coughing and stuff. I'll make sure that I
I had that last night too.
Right,
I had
you
that
did?
situation. Just coughing, especially when you're sleeping at night and then you wake up coughing. What is going on? It's not a cold or anything like that. It's just, I think it's just the particles in the air, that you're breathing in.
Excuse me.
You need to get a humidifier or something like that to clear the air for you.
Yeah, or something. But I'll make sure to drink my water, guys. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Twonta, to make sure I get that under control. So I'm going to go ahead and start tagging people. And we're going to go ahead and jump into today's topic. I really love today's topic. I'm really interested in seeing where the conversation is going to go.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely going to, for all of you who are going to be watching, this is definitely going to touch your emotion strings because it's that confronting and that honest and that real. So without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and let Twonta explain what tonight's topic is all about. And as you guys are coming on in, even if you're watching this on a replay, please do us a quick favor. Go ahead and share this out. Tag someone on here that you feel needs to hear and listen to this information. And let's go ahead, Twonta. What is tonight's topic all about, sis?
Yeah, so tonight's topic is actually we're gonna make this like a little mini series. Excuse me. We're gonna make this a little mini series because there's so many components that we can talk about underneath this particular topic. And so, as you can see, it's called If You Think It's Easy, You Are Fooling Yourself, right? You are fooling yourself. So, this week, we're going to be talking about marriage. Okay, we're going to be talking about marriage. Okay, so if you have kids, please have them to go play elsewhere. That's just came in my spirit. If you have little babies, have them go somewhere to play or what have you. Not saying that the conversation is going to get really, intimate in that regard, but it's just out of respect and whatnot. So yeah, you're gonna each week we're gonna come with a different topic. Okay, this is the main topic, but a subtopic I would say will be different. So for tonight, this week is going to be about marriage. And a lot of people, of course, a lot of couples, as you know, are getting married, are engaged to be married, are already married. Some are considering of getting married, and it's a beautiful, beautiful reunion because God created marriage. It's a covenant, sacred, commitment, between a husband and wife. And again, we need to really get more in depth about it and to talk more in depth to those who are considering marriage and what they need to know, what they need to understand about what marriage, what it consists of, what it takes. And also to have you take that time talking to your significant other about their perspective on marriage. What is their definition of it, because we all have seen marriages from our parents, from our grandparents, for our aunties, siblings maybe, and everybody has a different story to tell. Right? Everyone has a different story to tell, and they in some marriages are doing very well. Some have done well to do their part, literally, where they are no longer together, no longer with us, or if that person is still with us, but unfortunately he or she is a widow or widower, but they've been married since the day they said I do. There are some, who are probably separated, and they may be still living in the same house. I mean, that is happening now, right? But these are just different things that, we need to bring into attention to the younger generation. And so they can get a understanding of what the sacredness of marriage is all about and what comes in the marriage. You need to be prepared before you say I do, before you accept that engagement ring and or the wedding ring, for real, because you got to come in as a whole being. I remember growing up back in the day, used to be the same, like I want my better half, right? When I get married, I want to have my better half so we could be complete and all that stuff. That's a bunch of bull junk. You got to be completely whole, just like he got to be completely whole, right? Even with that being said, you still need God as the center of the marriage, regardless, because if you don't have him in the center of your life, you don't have him center of your marriage, 9 times out of 10, that marriage is not going to succeed. It's not going to last long. You have opened the door for so many other types of spirits coming in your marriage. And that's real talk, y'all. Okay. So yeah, we are going to be talking about this tonight. And again, if you have any babies, have them to go to the next room or somewhere to play, because this is an open forum for all of you queens, or whoever is watching the replay. You are welcome to still comment, put your own opinion, your own, personal experiences or what have you in the comment section. So we do, periodically do check, for those who showed up and whatnot. So
Right.
Leticia, what do you want to add to before we get to our points?
Yes. So for those of you who are watching on our Sister to Sister Connection page on Facebook, please, we have a little bit of a connection issue, but definitely join us on Facebook. We're here on Facebook, so you can watch from here as well. For those of you, I know a little error message came up. Yes, this is definitely a advanced conversation. So definitely those who are younger in age, or those who are young adults, you definitely want to maybe have them leave the room, and then give them the nuggets after, so they can better understand it. But yes, this is a really, really good topic, and I'm ready to start talking about it. So go ahead, Twonta.
Yeah. And yeah, also I'm glad you mentioned about the technical part, because on my end my Wi-Fi is wiki wonky. So if by chance I do freeze up and I go out, Tisha's gonna take over until I come back, because there's nothing I can do with this Wi-Fi on this end. Just let everybody know, just in case. Okay.
Let it over the
So
beds.
yes. So let's go ahead and get started with our first point. And we only have 2 points tonight, but I I think with these 2 points, it's going to be full of meat. Meeting is going to be full of dialogue, conversation, all those things. Because again, we're married women. We've been married for quite some time. We had our ups, we had our downs, and our in betweens, and all of that. And we are nowhere near experts. We're only experts based on our own personal experiences of being married, right? So we just sharing our own personal experiences and our own tips, if you will. But hey, Annette, but we're not experts or licensed by any means, just to get that disclaimer out there. Okay, so first thing we want to talk about when it comes to marriage: stop taking the test if you're still cheating. Stop taking the test if you're still cheating. Cheating, immediately, if you hear that word, you're thinking about, oh, that person is still messing in the marriage, or that person is still, playing around or what have you. That part, yes. But even before you get married, you got to commit. If you are committing to this person whom you want to commit to for the rest of your life, you got to stop taking these tests of other people. You need to stop assuming things. This is also when it comes about taking that test. You got to stop assuming things, because when people see marriage, especially on social media, and on social media, on these reality TV shows, we have witnessed this so many times. When we see celebrity couples, they get married and everybody's all happy, joy, what have you. But the real question is how long it's gonna last, right? 9 times out of 10, it ain't gonna last that long, especially Hollywood marriages. There's a few couples that are still holding on to this day. Praise God. There's still a couple of them that are still holding to this day. But for the others that we know pretty well, they got married, been married like numerous of times, and they're divorced again, they get married again, they get divorced again, and all this stuff. And people are looking at that and they're wondering, like, oh, well, I can, I want to know how I can get married too, because I want to live the big life. I want to live successfully, and I want to have what they see on social media. They want to live in a nice house. They want to live in a, have a fancy lifestyle, all these things. Nothing wrong with that by any means. There's nothing wrong with that at all. If that's how you see yourself, then go forward. But you better have that strong foundation to support. Okay. And you also need to connect with that significant other about your goals, your dreams. Both of you have to pretty much be, in agreement to some extent about where you want to go, where you want to live. I had come across some people, Tisha, where the young couples would say, well, they've been living in, let's say, like, they've been living in New Jersey, right? For all, I was born and raised New Jersey or New York for that matter. And they want to get married, they get married, but they want to stay where they are. They don't want to relocate. Like, if they're working for a company or a corporation, but it requires them to have to travel, they don't want to do that. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. This is your career.
Right.
Why would you not want to do that? Especially if your spouse, wants to transfer over. If they got this career, they're ready to move forward, but yet you want to stay back. These are things I believe that needs to be talked about before you make that final commitment. And a lot of people don't think about that stuff. They don't think about the finances that comes along with that.
That's right.
About having kids. People say, well, I'm going to wait till, about 5 years or 2 years, ready to have some kids and stuff. I'm not saying that's the wrong thing. But listen, you don't control the sperm.
No, nope.
You don't control that sperm, and you don't control your ovulation. You don't control that. Okay, that comes naturally. Okay, so when you do connect with your spouse, okay, and you know what's up when that happens. The sperm meet the egg, and they get connected, and voila, bam, bam, shank, bam, you got a baby. Okay, you pray. Okay, and that happens. That happens, right? These are things that needs to be discussed before the marriage. How many of you, if those of you online now, how many of you who have been married or are currently married have had premarital counseling? Premarital counseling means you have it with your pastor of the church or a licensed counselor that studies in that field in marriage or family or what have you. How many of you have had that? How many of you done that before you walk down that aisle? I know for my tradition, my family, or in the black church, so to speak, for the most part, that's what we do. You go to our pastor, then we say, well, we want to, sit with you for this duration of time and talk about the things we need to be looking forward to prior to marriage, right? And it's good to have that, okay? But let me tell you, that's not going to be the final of everything, meaning that you're not going to know your soon-to-be spouse in that sitting within that 6 to 8 weeks period, okay? Whatever length of time that pastor does this, I don't know. Some do 6, some do 8, depending on the pastor. But it's giving you an introduction of what you and your soon-to-be spouse, what you guys think, what you guys see for each other, what you guys want to see happening in your marriage. How do you guys work together when it comes to conflict? How do you guys handle financial, setbacks? What are the skills? What are the plans? Okay. So yes, how many of you, again, if you are listening to me, how many of you have had premarital counseling before? If not, that's okay. I'm not saying it's bad, you're doomed or anything like that, but it's a good thing to have that because here's the thing, when you go through the test in your marriage, and I know Leticia's probably going to definitely talk about that too, when you go through that course in your marriage and you have that hiccup moment in your marriage where things don't turn out right, and you and your spouse are going back and forth, beefing at each other or whatever the case may be, right? It's going to become a problem where you guys are going to be disconnected. And then you are looking at your spouse to be the one to handle it. You're like, well, I thought you the man in the house. I thought you would be, well, you the woman in the house. You supposed to be taking it. And this stuff needs to be dealt with prior to. So when you guys do come across that hiccup moment in your marriage, you both would know how to handle it without getting all frazzled dazzled and all angry and upset at each other, where you both go in separate corners, right? All right. So these are things that we need to talk about in more in depth, right? And like I said, this is so much. I just want to pour out. I'm gonna let Tisha go ahead and we just go back and forth. Go ahead, Tisha. Go.
Yeah, this is a really, really good conversation. And I want to be as honest and transparent as I can when I'm talking about this particular point that we're discussing tonight. I'm coming from a different perspective. I'm coming from the perspective of you could be in a relationship, whether it be boyfriend and girlfriend, or it could be a marriage where you could be in that situation for a season. There's certain marriages that are just built to last, where you just have people, where you have two individuals who are just amazing together. They may have their ups and downs, they may have their challenges and stuff, but you can look at them and just know that, hey, this particular couple, this particular marriage is going to stay for the long term and for the long haul. We're actually talking about, and Annette was at church today with me, and we were talking about the agape love, right? That's what there's 4 types of love. I'm not going to get into all those, but there's agape love where it's like unconditional, no matter what. It's everlasting, it's forever, And there's some relationships that marriages particularly that are like that, like no matter what, they're a team, they're ride or die. They may have a moment of, friction or not maybe
Mm-hmm.
communicating too heavily, but they're still lasting. But then you have those relationships that are actually, you may be married to somebody and realizing that you were only meant to be with that person for a particular season, and now
Oh
that season
yeah.
is in and you got to move on to the
Yeah.
next best great thing out there, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's, I'm coming from that second perspective. But
Sure.
one thing I can say looking back, and this is for those of you women who are watching this and you can relate, you know what I'm talking about. When you are getting into a marriage, a friendship, a partnership, a relationship with anyone, whether it's a man or woman, you have to first spend some time just going to, whether it be through a therapist or any, or what have you, just checking to see what that person's mental stability is. I
Mm-hmm.
know for a fact that a lot of times when you're meeting people who are not who they say they are or
Yeah.
have not yet known who they are, you're
Yeah.
meeting their representative.
Yeah.
So you meet a guy, you meet a girl, and they love all the things that you love. They love going to all the places that you love going to. They love
Mm-hmm.
anything you're into. They're into. And then you
Yeah.
find that as the years go by, you say I do, you jump the broom, and you have kids and all the things. You start to realize that everything that you like, they criticize, they make fun of, and they even
Mm-hmm.
try to stop and eliminate
Yeah.
the things that you're trying to build, that you're trying to work on to move forward in life.
Mm-hmm.
So I always tell women now moving forward that before you get into any situation with anybody, speak to a therapist, but if that person is telling you, listen, this person has some traits that you're going to have challenges with later on in life, you
Mm-hmm.
have to
Mm-hmm.
listen to that. You have to
Yeah.
say, you know what? Because I'm only saying that because that's my story. It's those
Mm-hmm.
individuals that have told you that, hey, there's something off about this person. I know you love them. I know you care about them. I know you think they're like your world, your everything, but they're a little off.
Right. Yeah.
Because you have some people like, what the examples that Twonta was sharing with you guys, where when you're dealing with individuals who have a sense of normalcy and empathy and compassion and feeling like
Mm-hmm.
no matter what, they may not be perfect, but when they say
Mm-hmm.
sorry, it's not just a word, it's actually an action. They're actually making the change they need to make. So when they actually showing you that they're sorry instead of telling you that they're sorry, or showing you that they changed instead of telling you that they changed, that's the norm when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
relationship, where it's not perfect. It's not, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have hiccups, but at least you know that no matter what happens, that person is willing to improve themselves. They're not perfect, but they're willing to improve themselves.
Yeah.
But when you have individuals with partners, husbands, boyfriends, what have you in your life, where you are not seeing the improvement, you're hearing I'm sorry, you're hearing next time I won't do that ever again, you're hearing that I'm going to make a change, you're hearing the promises and all
Yeah.
that, and it goes empty. You have
Mm-hmm.
to know that there's a time where this is just probably just a season. This just may be a season. And sometimes, no matter how much therapy you do, somebody's
Mm-hmm.
just people are just who they are. People are just wired and programmed the way they are, and that's where the mental side comes in. When you have
Yeah.
somebody that's just wired, that's just the way they wired, that's just the way they think, that's just the way they do things. And no matter what amount of therapy is going to get that person to understand, hey, I'm hurting this individual. This
Mm-hmm.
person is telling me I'm hurting them. I'm seeing the repercussions of this person's feeling this way and how it's
Mm-hmm.
affecting everything our day-to-day life. Let me make some improvement and change because I love this person enough to make improvements. Not change their personalities, as far as like if they
Mm-hmm.
like to eat salad or like to eat pizza, and that person's telling me, oh, don't eat that or whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like the whole aspect of getting along and
Mm-hmm.
communication and coming togetherness and empathy and all those things. So like I said, in full transparency mode, I'm coming from a totally different perspective of this conversation, where it's like, hey, as a woman or a man, when you know that, hey, you've been literally in World War III for all these different decades, you got to ask
Yeah.
yourself, if that person's not going to change, you have to change. You have to say, you know
Right.
what? Because I had this conversation with somebody last night, and I grew up, and I was told at an early age that if you're in a marriage, you just got to keep enduring. You just got to keep enduring. And then, looking at where I'm in now, 42 years old, I'm like, God don't want me crying every day. God don't want me unhappy. God don't want me always have to check my back to see what's the next thing that this person is going to do. That's not the level of enduring that God wants me to have.
Right.
So we got to ask ourselves this, like, are we living in insanity, or are we saying, you know what, you gotta stand up for yourself. You gotta decide what standard of relationship that you really want, or do you want to just endure for the next 50 years and suffer and say, well, I'm enduring, I'm keeping it together, and then you realize that you're 80, 90 years old and you're looking back like, man, should I kept going? You know what I'm saying? So that's the perspective I'm coming at with this conversation.
Yeah. Now also too, my Naya might come in here because I'm telling my our cat is here and she wants attention. I'm like, I ain't picking you up right now. But anyway, because she's under the bed all the time. She's like, mommy.
That's so cute.
I know, she's a cutie though. But anywho, let me say this too. When we talking about this particular point, when you stop taking the test, if you're still cheating, when you are currently in the dating stage, that is your I want to say your truth and dare. That is the opportunity where you can truly witness to see how this person that you are connecting to, this is giving you a role play. Even though you're not officially married, but at least you guys are spending this quality time getting to know each other. You're getting to know the temperament of this person, right? And this is giving you some ideas of like, is this person like this 24/7? Is this person really this genuine? Because like Tisha, when you connected to somebody or you're married to someone, you really don't know who you're marrying.
You don't. And I strongly suggest, and this goes for everybody, speak to a professional therapist that's going to give you a personality test individually, and that partner, a personality check. Because again, there's certain traits like narcissism, right? There's certain traits like manipulative trait, toxic trait that you gotta, and you don't even gotta tell that person, hey, I want you to see this therapist. I'm gonna find out if you're a narcissist or not. If you're a toxic, you have any toxic trait. You ain't gotta say that. You just go there and you have a conversation. You also can have them assess you, assess ourselves. But I think that's so important because sometimes we are getting married to people who have a mental illness and we don't know until it's 20, 30 years down the line. And you're looking at this person and say, wait a minute, this person has a mental illness. They have I'm only saying that to you ladies because there's a lot of that going around. Where you're with somebody and they have an actual mental imbalance, and is I'm not saying bipolar or anything like that. I'm just saying strictly on the spectrum of narcissism, toxic trait, and all that, where no, he may not be beating you or she may not be beating you, but the emotional abuse is just blowing your head off right now because you're like, listen, this person is driving me crazy mentally. He's emotionally abusing, abusing you, and you don't know how to seek help. And this is why, and I shared this with somebody back in December. I said, because I've experienced it. I said to this person, I see why women stay in toxic relationships. I see why, because when you get out there and want to ask for help, the number one people that are going to look at you side-eye is other women. And I'm saying this because this happened to me. It's very few people that say, you know what, I see what's going on. But the 99% are like, girl, why I don't get why this is this, you know what I mean? Because it's what the level of emotional abuse that they put on women, and it doesn't just have to be a man, it could be a woman, vice versa. And they're good at triangulating other people to the point where you look like you're the crazy one, where you look like you're the one with the problem, where you were the one with all the challenges. And at the end of the day, this person is so far off mentally ill, right? That no one else sees it. And I said before, this is why so many women. I feel like I just want to make like a non-for-profit just for women who are suffering from emotional abuse, just from because that causes so much damage to the person, to the children, to the family, to so many different places, that it's hard for women to seek help when at the end of the day we don't, that's not something that is available on a global level, and and those of you who are watching who are part of certain religious, I have conversations with women who are part of certain religions, and they dealt with it from toxic individuals, men and women, so it's so many layers before you even decide to walk down that aisle, ladies. You and that partner, and men, y'all need to sit down with somebody for multiple sessions. And the first time that therapist tells you they have a certain, I think there's 5 traits that red flags. And when they tell you 1 or 2 or 3, you got to say, you know what? This is not the right decision. Because those are the type of individuals, especially on a narcissism level, they have to be in therapy for the rest of their life. It's like they just can't go to 1 or 2 sessions. Hey, niece. They just can't go through 1 or 2 sessions and they're okay. Hey, beautiful. They got to be in it for the rest of their life because they have a chemical imbalance. It's just their brain is programmed differently. I'm gonna make a point of this. Like, if you with somebody and they're crying in front of you, like really crying, I'm talking about snot, all that, really crying, and that person either smirks a little bit or just totally numb, that's like, what? That's an issue. That's an issue. You got to really ask yourself, hey, am I dealing with somebody that got empathy? Like, that's one thing. If you're around somebody that does not have empathy, that does not want to put themselves in your shoes, that's the first sign of you to say, hey, listen, this ain't gonna work out. This ain't gonna work out, because empathy is just a natural characteristics that we all have, whether you're a man or a woman. We all have a level of empathy that we'll have when somebody's hurting, when somebody's in pain, that we're not looking at it as a platform for amusement or an opportunity for that person to feel like, oh, I got her now, or I got him now, because they're crying or they're upset. That level of vengefulness is totally alarming, y'all. So again, I'm just saying, y'all, I'm coming at this from a totally different spectrum, because I feel like I have to be honest and transparent with everyone who's watching. And like the title says, I'm going to go back to the title, which says, if you think it's easy, you are fooling yourself, because it's not easy. Relationship is not easy. Partnerships are not easy. Marriages are not easy. But you got to know who you're dealing with. You got to know who you're dealing with. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes we don't know who we're dealing with until we get married. 22 years goes by. We have a bunch of kids. You're like, wait a minute. This don't make no sense. But you guys got to know who you're dealing with early on. Women get so anxious on wanting to get married. I want a husband. I'm praying for a husband. You better be careful what you're praying for. You got to pray that you get the right person. The person that got his head together. The person that comes from a good family foundation. Go ahead, Twonta.
Yeah, and you know what? You're right on point on that, because a lot of women today are saying it's been like that forever, but unfortunately there are ladies that are saying that, oh, I want to get married, oh, I want to be the missus, and da. And before you make that decision, you need to take care of you. You need to take care of you. You need to take the time out to detoxify, if that's the word, your mental state. Okay. Because it's one thing to go ahead and examine the person whom you are attracted to, that you want to be with, and all of those things. It's one thing like that.
Right.
But it's another way you totally ignoring you. No, you got to get you in check.
Yep.
You have to get you in check, because here's the deal. You have already been in relationships too.
Right.
and you probably still weaning off the previous relationship you just lost, whether it was in marriage, whether it was a relationship that you've been with someone, you've been living with that person for a while or what have you, and now you ready to jump again into another relationship with somebody. It may be a year later or whatever, but still you need to be the one to take that responsibility and accountability to really detoxify your mental state.
Exactly. If you feeling like, I hear this sometimes from women, they feel like, well, I feel empty. So they feel like a man or is going to feel that emptiness, or I want to have companionship. I want to be able to have companionship and share my life with somebody. But you don't even know how to fill your own cup. You don't even know how to just have joy within yourself and happiness within yourself. You know what I'm saying? Being alone by yourself, going on trips alone, eating out for restaurants alone, just being comfortable and confident in yourself, because I think it's too much responsibility for a man or even a woman to come in and have to constantly fill your cup all the time. Whenever you're feeling empty, whenever you're feeling like, oh my God, they have to constantly like your child. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot. Instead of you having extreme joy with just happiness, just being yourself, and a legitimate or whoever has the same level of joy, and y'all come together and it just magnifies. Instead of that person feeling like, oh, let me make sure she's good before I even think about doing any big picture or any, major stuff with them,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's important for us ladies to really start to take that time. If you are single now, or if you are divorced now, or a widow, what have you, and if you are considering or thinking about starting dating again, and as the old folks we used to say courting, or whatever it is, take the time to really start healing yourself. And here's the thing, even if you start dating, you're still in the healing process. You're not going to have everything all squared away, but thank God you're not where you used to be, because you took that break on purpose. You took that bold move to start healing yourself. Start forgiving yourself, because there's a lot of sisters out there that are mad at themselves, and they spew that anger out on that person whom they're dating, because that person made a mistake or said something, and immediately it triggers in that woman's mind of her previous boyfriend or whatever, and then she's taking all that stuff that she had held inside out on that person, and the person made a legitimate mistake or whatever. Not saying that person is manipulative or all of that. That person has made a human error, right? So that's when all hell breaks loose. That's when the friction starts. That's when arguments stuff. So that's why I say, if you are in that state of your life, ladies, and I'm not talking about the sisters that know I'm done dating. I'm not talking about y'all. If you done, you done. Thank God for that. You in your position, and you're like, bro, I'm happy being by myself. Okay, this me and Jesus. Okay, good. It's all right. But for those of you who have been thinking about it and you are ready to move to that state of that state of dating and all of those things, make sure you start taking care of yourself first. And when you start courting and dating that person, and you spend time with each other as often as you can, be honest with them. Tell them that I'm currently going through some things. I am talking to a therapist. I'm talking to my pastor, somebody, because where I was in this previous relationship, it really broke me. It really devastated me. Or I'm better, but I'm still in progress. Let that person know up front who you are, who they're dealing with, versus you trying to figure out who you dealing with. Both of y'all trying to figure each other out. But the good news is that you are being forward with it. Because there's people who being real high, they don't want to talk. They don't want to get real. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to really get all deep. They just want the covering of a relationship. They just want the glam, the spoiling. They could brag about, oh, my man got me some houses. My man took me out to this beautiful cruise ship and all this stuff. They just want to get all caught up in that. And it's cute, but that does not solidify a relationship. That doesn't solidify communication. That does not solidify, intimacy, and I'm not talking about sex. I'm talking about intimacy in terms of really pouring your heart into that person, and that takes time. That takes time, but you can start doing that while you are dating. Take 1 minute, just take a little bit of yourself. Once you start feeling comfortable with that individual that you've been dating for quite some time, right? I'm not saying pour every little intimate detail. No. But you just start, sharing some things about yourself that that person needs to know, or and you just want to tell them, just to let them know, like, oh yeah, I have my moments, but I'm not like insane or anything like that. I get upset because I don't like anybody to misjudge me. I don't like nobody to provoke me. I don't like nobody. I'm not that insane type of chick or anything like that. Just make it clear to them. Tell them that, yeah, my father was this type of person, or my mom, or that kind of thing. Let them know. And also, what I had learned down through the years before I got married was that we need to know who we getting married into. So you getting married to this person, but you also getting married to that family. You need to know who that family is, right? And if your soon-to-be spouse is the person that will tell you, oh yeah, that's my brother, he crazy, but he cool. That's my sister, she's always nagging, but she's really down to earth, that kind of thing. Get to know them. If this is something that you're going to be with this person for the rest of your life, it's important for you to integrate, meaning that communicate with those in-laws, soon to be in-laws, so you can see how that whole family really connects with each other, how they really communicate. Are they dysfunctional altogether? Because if they are like that, then 9 times out of 10, homie or homegirl probably like that too. Maybe a little edginess on that side. And you need to get clarity on that. If you see them, balling out on each other, you soon to be in this, family forever, you need to know. What do I need to be prepared? Because are you like that? All of a sudden you just go off like that? I need to know this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Be open, ladies. Tell the truth and tell them, listen, I can't help but getting hurt. I mean, it's going to happen, but I don't want no surprises either. I want you to be straightforward, honest with me, just like I'm going to do my best to be straightforward, honest with you. Because this is a serious situation here. We see too many couples getting married one minute, next thing you know, they're filing for divorce, right? And then you got to deal with that, because that's a crazy part right there on its own itself, because you're dealing with child support, you're dealing with parental rights and all this other stuff that comes in that territory if you have kids involved in particular. But other than that, to avoid all of that, this would be a good time to really have that conversation with each other. If y'all spend all this time going to the movies or going out to dinner, that would be the perfect time to talk about other things that is included in a marriage. I hope I'm making sense. Go ahead, Tish.
Yeah, it making total sense, because it does fall in line with communication. But if you're with somebody that's not a good communicator, and they only tell you basically what you need to hear or leave certain things out, and then you later on start to find out things, you got to ask yourself, do you want to continue with that? Because I know for a fact that, hey, Mavina, we see so many red flags and so many evidence of whether or not a person is of integrity, but we'll still decide to keep giving chances. So we got to be mindful of how much chances and opportunities you give somebody to show you who they are. When somebody, it's like the saying, when somebody show you who they are, believe them. So we have to believe that. I feel like as women, we do give way too many chances. We do give way too many opportunities to get hurt, to get manipulated, to get lied to get mistreated, we get taken advantage of. We get way too many opportunities to do that. You know what I mean? For that to happen to us. And a lot of times we got to hold ourselves accountable. If you're in a situation, like I said, for a season, and that season has come to an end, you have to look at what role you played in that. You know, where is it at? Where was it where you knew you shouldn't have continued that, but you still kept going? You know what I mean?
Right.
Where first time wasn't the last time. It just kept happening over and over and over and over again, So you really got to look at that, and that's another reason why sometimes when you tell people what you're going through and you're sharing your story of whatever you're going through, they look at you like, well, why did you stay so long? Why did you do this for long? A lot of times, again, we give so many chances, many chances, and again, when somebody shows you who they are, you have to believe that. You got to believe what they do, not what they say.
Yeah.
Right. Not everybody's going to be perfect. There's times where people will say something and they say they're going to do this and then come through once in a while because certain circumstances that came up or what have you that was outside of their control. But if you have somebody that every word that comes out of their mouth that they say they're going to do does not happen, or they say who they are, it's not what the case is, right?
Yeah.
And you want to turn around and flip on you. But again, you gotta make sure you tie yourself into that part. Listen, watch what they do. The Bible says, look at their fruit. That don't lie. That don't lie at all.
Yeah. And before we move to the second point, let me say this to ladies. More importantly, pray. Pray and talk to God about your desires of your mate, of your husband, who you want to marry. Ask him to give you discernment if it's not already gifted to you. But ask for discernment. Don't be afraid to ask God for, ask him these questions. He wants communications with you anyway. So, ask him, or tell him, Lord, this is my desire. I would love to be married. I would love to, be, to be committed to someone and that loves me and honor me, but more importantly, honors you and loves you. And they're not just walking the walk, they live in that walk. They talk in that talk, they live in it for real. And, they take care of the house, they take care of the family, but they also honor the spouse, they honor the wife, they honor their kids, they do their responsibility, they do their due diligence. They don't disrespect or dishonor or anything like that. You got to be very, very detailed in your conversation with the Lord in terms of who you desire in your life, but definitely pray about this. Amen, Karen. Karen said, wow, this is so good. Will there be a private afterglow session?
We may bring that back. We'll see. We'll see about bringing that back. I want to add to that. Also know when it's just not your time.
Yes.
Right. Honestly, no, if it's not your time, it's not your time. Sometimes you can meet individuals where it may not be on a relationship level, but you just share a common bond with that person, but it's not an actual relationship situation. So know that if you try to rush that too fast or too soon, it's going to mess everything up because you could literally be with somebody or just friends or whatever with somebody where y'all going down the same path, you have all the same goals and wants and needs, but on a relationship or marriage level, it's not ready yet. You got to bake a little bit. You know what I mean? I saw this on the Housewives with Cynthia Bailey, her last husband. She just kept pressuring him. When are you going to propose to me? When are you going to?
I'm like, hold on now, wait a minute.
But guess what? He did propose. They got married, but they're not married anymore. Yeah. And I'm not trying to say that's the reason for the divorce, but I'm just saying, like, when you put so much pressure on somebody to speed things up, it's almost like a butterfly in a cocoon. It's not going to fly right.
Yeah.
So if you're by yourself right now, if you're just having experiences with other people, but you're not like locked in like that, it's more just, hey, we hanging out, we're talking on the phone, we're doing this thing, but don't be like, okay, so what we doing? Just live. Just have go travel, do the just let it process. I feel like we want things at a certain time, and I'm even learning this, that everything in life is a process. Everything in life has a season. Everything in life has a rhythm. Our bodies as women, we have a rhythm. Every month we have a rhythm.
Come on.
We can't speed it up, and we can't prolong it either.
Right.
Go with the rhythm, right? And it's just how our bodies are wired. That's how life is wired as well. Everything has a rhythm.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like, we know we travel according to a rhythm. You know, there's certain times where I don't even go to, like, let's say Florida, for example, there's certain months that I don't want to go because them damn love bugs that be flying around. I'm like, I don't want them things on me. But I know when they're coming.
I hear you.
So guys, like sometimes we just gotta enjoy just being in the presence of with somebody or what have you, and just enjoy the moment and whatever it goes, but just enjoy. There's no labels, there's no titles, there's no anything. It's just what it is.
Yeah.
Don't rush
build that friendship first.
Yes.
Build that friendship first. And when you solidify that friendship, then you guys, if you are looking at in a sense like, are we going in the same direction? Like, because I'm feeling something here about you. I really do care for you more than a friend, and that, we can genuinely come together and move forward in this relationship, because it's a process, as Tisha said. And even when you do get married, that's a process in itself, because we had oftentimes said this in our shows, that you're not going to be the same woman when you got married 10 years ago or 5 years ago, even 20 years ago. You are a different person, and your spouse is a different person because of the challenges that you dealt with, the issues that you dealt with, whatever came into your marriage, it has caused some shift. It caused some shift, not just shift in your finances, not just shift in your family or your relationships with your kids, whatever, but also with you as a person, right? It has you to look at your spouse differently. It has you looking at yourself differently, because things are really pressurized in your life and your marriage. The economy is a part of it as well that's causing this friction or what have you. That's why I said, when we see these young couples that are getting married, I pray for them. They look so cute. They're young in their 20s, if not mid, early 30s or whatever. And I'm like, Lord, I pray longevity in their marriage, but definitely that they put God first, because most of them don't even quite understand what they really getting into until they go through that test, right? And so definitely, ladies, for sure, again, pray for this, pray and talk to God about it, and take your time. There's no need to rush. What are you rushing for? Because we get caught up with our biological clock and all that stuff. You know what I mean? And that don't go by that. Don't go by that, because you all about that pressure, because you see your peers getting married or they engaged and stuff like that, and you feel all left out and all those things, and you like, well, nobody gonna love me, nobody gonna marry me, and this, that, whatever. No, it's not your season. It's not your season. It is not your time. So you don't need to rush it at all, right? Let's move to the second point, ladies. And let us know if this
and if around those individuals that are married, take notes. Let's go to the second point. Use that opportunity to take notes. This is like same thing in business. If you're around, if you're not making 6-7 figures, right? Get around people who are. Take notes. You don't have, like I said, you don't. It's exposure. Don't get jealous. You know what we do? The reason I say that, Twonta, is a lot of women get jealous, they get envious. Oh my God, and they be like, no, sit and take notes. See how they communicate. See how they partner well with each other. I think that's
good. Yeah, absolutely. So let's go to our second point tonight, ladies, and let us know how this is helping you in any form of fashion. Our second point tonight is skill comes with consistency and work. It's not rehearsed. Okay. Skill in marriage, because it takes work and it takes consistency. That's how you can perfect your skill, because it's constant work. It's constant work. It's never going to end until one of you decides to divorce, or God forbid someone passes away or whatever, but it's constant work. It is consistency. Is 100% put in that pot. Right? And and it's a process with that skill. It's a process, it's a progress in the marriage. Everything is a progress, because you're going to learn some things every time you walk into a different season in your marriage. You come in as a brand new newlywed couple. You in that season of newlywed. Everything's all pretty, all roses and daffodils and all kinds of stuff flowing up. But then here come the next season, pregnancy. That's a new season that you guys going to be entering into, and you got to start preparing yourself for that. may be pregnant with one child. Some of you probably get married, you have 2 kids, you have twins or whatever. It happens, and you try to mentally prepare yourself, but it's not even just the mental, but it's the physical, it's the emotional, and the financial. Financial. Am I right? Financial is how you say it, right? All of that plays a part. All of that plays the part. Okay, in your marriage, right? And here's the thing: there's so many books out there in terms of preparation of pregnancies and all of that, and there is some good information. But I'm telling you, when you do get married, and you start and you're having kids or get prepared for having a child, I'm telling you that book will be out the door. It's going to be out the door, because you are going to be experiencing some things, and it's going to take you for a loop de loop, right? But you can, again, it's all about work. It's all about consistency. It's all about partnership. It's all about, taking a schedule here. If your husband works a full shift at night, and, a full shift at the daytime or whatever, and, he comes later on in the evening and he takes over by nursing the baby, feeding the baby, all that stuff. Well, while you go to work or whatever. I have seen couples do that, and it works for them, because every couple is different. Their household is different, but it does come with work. That's the thing that I think a lot of couples fail to realize, that marriage takes work. It is a job to maintain, the level of respect, the level of love, the level of integrity that you both have build together to keep it top tier, if that makes sense, right? I hope I'm making sense on that. Okay. It takes a lot of work on both parts. Don't expect that one person, your spouse, to do 80% and you're not doing anything. Karen says, yes, so many things that should be discussed before and during the marriage. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. So yes, when it comes to the marriage, you definitely have to understand you're going to work. You're going to have to work this marriage. It's not just you working outside your home, or you working to make your husband, feel, sexually happy and all those things. That's one part of the pie. You got to work this marriage in terms of, partnering when it comes to the bills,
right?
When it comes to, organizing, or, taking care of the house, or whether you live in a house or an apartment. And let's get to that. When it comes to the house and all of that, people want to move into a house. Wonderful blessing. Not saying nothing wrong with that, but you got to have your P's and Q's with that. You got to have that conversation and understanding. Well, honey, where do you want to live? How do you want to live in a big house? Do you want to live in a house with a white picket fence? Do you want to live? These things matter, because when you go together to the realtor, and the realtor's going to ask you questions, general questions. Well, what are you looking for? What size house you're looking for? How much you're willing to spend? This, that. And if y'all both are not in agreement, your husband say, probably like 450. You like, well, how about 700? 700,000. Right. And you like, 700,000. Wait a minute. You know what I'm saying?
And you got, I think all that will work if you're dealing with somebody who's good with money.
Exactly.
You gotta make sure. Okay, it's great for a husband to work.
Thank you, Annette.
Yes, it's great for a husband to contribute. It's great for a wife to contribute. But at the end of the day, if you are with somebody who's just horrifically horrible with money, they may be making $90,000-$100,000 a year, $600,000 a year, but if they're constantly behind or not following through or in debt all the time, they get a car, they max it out, they put money in savings. Y'all have a joint account, they pulling money out of the joint account. You know what I'm saying? None of that's going to work. None of that's going to work. And this is why I was saying earlier, it's like, you guys, it's so many layers to this, that it is making sure you know who you're dealing with. Even outside of the conversation of how much you're going to spend on the house, this, that, divvy up bills. If you're with somebody that has a horrible mismanagement of money, right? I've heard stories where the husband gave the wife the money to pay for the mortgage, and what happened? The wife wasn't paying, and they lost the home. You know what I mean? It's so many different scenarios. Again, if you're with somebody that's just has a horrible relationship with money,
amen,
it's not going to work out.
And that's why when you guys are in that dating stage, and if you guys are definitely, transitioning from dating to being a or whatever, or soon to be married couple, that's where you need to talk about that finances.
Yeah.
You need to see how well he spends money. If you know you the chick that likes to shop, and I think for most of us we do, but if you know that's your weakness, you need to own up to that and say, well, honey, yeah, I love shoes, I love my purse, and I do the sales or whatever. And I
who's the saver, who's the spender?
Right, exactly. But you got to learn how to, you got to learn how to work with each other, because if your husband, soon to be the husband, is the man that really is good with the money, and he's about budgeting, but you're not disciplined in that area, you're going to have to make some decisions, mama, wife, my sister, right? Because we as women, we want to spend, buy what we want to buy. And I'm not saying that's not the same with the brother, because there's some brothers like that
the
too.
Brothers do too, okay? And they spend money on other women or other situations and things like that. So of course, if you and like I said, I'm coming from a totally different angle, because you have people that you be in a relationship with, and they taking care of other people's households on top of your own. So it's you gotta have those conversations, ladies, and the minute you get that first sign, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, absolutely. You got to be consistent in the right thing. Got to be consistent. Yeah. If you're going to do the work, you got to do the right work.
You got to do the right work. And this is it's all the time. It's all the time, because you don't know how life can shift on you, and it does, and it's happening to all of us now. Look at the economy. Things are just going all crazy right now. And even though there may be couples who are very diligent about budgeting, and they've been doing very well with, spending and being on top of their, payments and stuff like that, but now they looking at their jobs. Some of them are working for people, and unfortunately some may have lost their job, or they had a pay cut, and that makes a major difference. You know what I'm saying? So you have to prepare yourself for these what ifs. You got to prepare yourselves for these shifts that's going to happen throughout the course of your marriage. And not even just that too, but let me share this too. You don't know what's going to happen with your health. Praying that you all have good health, but you never know how things can shift in your marriage, where one of y'all might get sick, or one of you, God forbid, gets in a bad accident and you are disabled. You never know, because a lot of these couples, especially these young couples, they don't think about that stuff. They don't. They are all about, I'm getting married to my boo, and all that stuff or whatever, but they're not thinking about for better or for worse. When that worse hits, it hits. And when it hits, baby, it stays for a while. Okay. And it does something. But if you guys have already practiced on, and prepared yourself when, how to handle the situation like this, you will be okay. It's going to be rough, but you got each other. You know how to soothe each other, how to help each other. One is really much more down and out than the other. At least that person, your spouse, will be that lifter of your head, so to speak. He will be there to, to comfort you, but also to, help you and say, babe, you got this. We're going to make it together. It's going to be rough, but we got this together, this, that, or whatever. Right. And there are couples who are doing that. That's why if you see couples, you may have people in your family right now that's been married for more than 40 plus years. They still married to this day. Thank God. And people always ask the number one question: how do y'all stay married so long? What's the secret to your marriage and all of that? And these beautiful couples would say, communication, or, and respecting each other, and which is the truth. They don't have no magic pill. They just telling you what it is, And, and that's the thing. It's about being consistent when it comes to connecting with each other, being connected with each other in terms of really telling your spouse, babe, you know what? I'm not that same woman like I was. I'm going through menopause right now. I'm going through this. My mind is different. Hormones fluctuating, everything. I have my moments, honey, and it's not against you, but I'm just going through it right now. That's that intimacy part right there. That's that part that you telling your husband what's up, so he won't get sidetracked by your rehearsed. You know what I'm saying? You know, and he vice versa will probably tell you, yo, babe, I'm sorry, babe. I'm just having a rough day, been a rough day at work, and you know, this, that, yada, yada, yada. And I said I was not going to bring my work here at home, but I'm feeling a little something right now. So I'm just letting you know, babe, you know, that's what I'm talking about. He's being very forward with you, and you're not taking that as an insult or as a, you know what I mean? And when you do that's a practice, is consistent. Your marriage can flow so well, even through those rough patches, even through those difficult challenges that life will test you with. It's going to hit you hard, right? You know, but it comes with that skill. It's a practice. You got to keep practicing every single day. Keep on working on each other every single day. Working with your kids, because not only does it affect you and your spouse, but your kids. If you got kids in the midst, you know, you got to work together with your kids. You got to communicate with your kids, because your kids sees you changing too. Believe it or not, those little babies, those who are 2 or 5 or 7 years old, don't think that they don't know what's going on. They may not be able to articulate it, but they know, they sense us mothers when we're not at our best. Am I right, Tish? Because my daughters are older now, but I know
they absolutely do. And more importantly, you always got to make sure that you're at a good mental state for yourself. You got to get yourself together. You got to get yourself right. I think that's very important. Yep.
Yeah.
Kids need to see you happy. They need to see you that everything's okay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah.
Even if it means that you're no longer going to be with that person, your kids will remember always that you are happy. You don't want to raise your kids wanting to go see you, having to want to keep somebody with you, or chase a man, or run down. You know what I mean? Like you don't want it to be that way. You know what I mean? Because then what's going to happen? They're going to repeat the same thing that you're doing, and it's going to be, you know, even worse. You know what I'm saying?
That's the truth. That is so true. Yeah. So that's another thing too, with the communication, not only just with your spouse, but also with your children. If you are blessed with kids, you know, have that, you know, a general conversation with them that they are able to comprehend based on the age that they are at that stage of their life. You know, so every pretty people in that household will be on the same page. You know, there won't be no conflict here. Like, you know, you go ahead and say something to your child, but the husband doesn't know anything about that you had to talk. But, you know, and he comes talk to the child, and the, you know, your child would say, well, mommy said that we can, you know, that kind, and he's like, well, we can't, you know, and then here comes that conflict. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, you gotta connect, and like again, that comes with practice, that comes with skill, that comes with consistency. This is not rehearsed. Marriage is not a rehearsal. This is the real deal, right? And you got to come ready to handle what is going to be coming at you. Life is going to be hitting you in all different directions, and you know, you need to prepare yourself. Will you be prepared at the moment? You may not, but when it hits, you know, this is the time when you don't, you know, let that panic overwhelm you. This is the time that you come in that center, you know, because God is the center of your marriage anyway, and of your household. That's the time you come together in prayer as a corporate setting, but you come together in prayer as a husband and wife, and you come in prayer with just you and God, right? And then once you have done that part, then you guys can just genuinely have a conversation with each other and so forth. I've seen marriages where, you know, there's even people who have, I don't know, you have seen that or witnessed that in your personal life, Tisha, where you see couple where they've been married, but they also separated and they were in the verge of divorcing, but, you know, they worked it out some kind of way where they came back and they now back into the fold of marriage, and it's been better than before. I have seen that happen because both parties decided to work together and to hear and to listen, you know, instead of talking at, you know, each other, or totally dissing that other person because, you know, for whatever reason. You know, so there, you know, again, if this is something that you definitely want to do, God willing, you know, praise God. I'm happy for you. If this is something, you know, that you don't want to do, that's fine. Because you don't have to be married. Let's put it that way. You don't have to be. If that's your desire, then great. Then let God prepare you, okay? Not the person, you, because you got to get yourself prepared first before you get into that relation with that dude, right? Because there's still some personal issues about you, some insecurities about you, right? That needs to be dealt with before you come in and connect with someone else, okay? But yeah, this concludes our session for tonight. We only had two points, and I thought that these 2 points was enough that we would have a good conversation about it. So before we move to our what's news, next week again we're going to continue with the same topic, but next week we're going to be talking. The subtopic is going to be about children. So we're going to be talking about children, how to deal with your child when it comes to different conversations, how to prepare yourself, for those who are considering raising a family, and of course I may share my personal experience and everything and whatnot, but it's going to be a great conversation. Okay. So let's go to our what's news. Yay! Yes, our What's News is a segment where we actually come on and we share some wonderful things that's going on in the community or across the globe, where people are doing some phenomenal things, and we want to be able to give them their flowers, or to give that spotlight to those individuals that are doing wonderful things. And we see here this beautiful person here that our dear sister Therese had posted for us. This is Drina, I think, Whitfield Brown. She only one of the 8 Black women recognized in the PR, and I'm assuming that is public relations category for the 2025 Inc. Female Founders 500 list. Wow. Okay. In her living room, she said she didn't have any clients and didn't even know how to do a contract. She said Google was her best friend. And she said for me to be featured as an incorporated female founder, she said, is nothing but God. Whitfield Brown's journey began with the frustration that Black women know all too well, being passed over for opportunities. Okay. Uh, she goes on to say, let's see, research from Harvard Kennedy School details the unique challenges Black women face in the workplace. The study found that when Black women start their careers working with a higher percentage than their white colleagues, and Tisha, you had talked about this a while back. Yeah, they are more likely to leave their job sooner and are less likely to be promoted. And she had enough of firms, the FIRMS firms, offering internships despite her work experience. So she started her own public relations agency. Go on, girl. And gave birth to her first baby, Wit PR. Wit PR. That's so cool. In 2010. So that's 15 years ago. It's now one of the leading minority-owned firms in the country, a long way. Hold on, my thing went crazy. A long way from her home. She launched her agency in the living room of her one-bedroom apartment with no clients or media contacts. She said, your circle matters. She said, Whitfield Brown will be the first to tell aspiring new business owners to be patient and utilize the resources. She said it was a bit of a trial and error. One of her first clients was one of her closest friends, and they were building their businesses at the same time, and she was the perfect case study for her. And it did not happen overnight as far as her success, and neither did the money. She worked a retail job for 3 years to make ends meet. And she said, however, she continued balancing a career and building her brand. Others took note and new clients started coming in. And her first, where'd it go? Her first big opportunity was for former Newark Mayor Cory Booker's nonprofit. Okay. She said, I got that contract through word of mouth, and they ultimately became my first big paying client, which then opened more doors. So, WIT PR is an integrated strategic communication agency that shapes and amplifies culture driven communication strategies across organizations and communities.
Did Twonta freeze? Did she freeze? Did she freeze? Yes. Trees, did Twonta freeze or is it me? Y'all type in one in the chat if y'all can see and hear me good. I'm going to make sure it's not my Wi-Fi acting up. But yeah, so to answer your question, Karen Perkins asks clarification. Oh, she froze. Okay, so she'll be back in just a second to finish out the article. I just want to answer Karen's question. Oh, it's her, Karen? Okay, good. Okay, so Twonta will be back very shortly. So clarification, are you back on Wednesdays or next Sunday? So we are going, I think we're going to be doing just Sundays. Wednesdays, I know is a little crazy for me, but Karen asks, are we back on Wednesday or Sundays? We're on Sundays, right? At 7, right, Twonta? We're good with that, right?
Yeah, for now, yeah.
Yeah, for now. So again, make sure you always have your notifications on whenever we go live. Make sure you're following us on YouTube and our Sister Connection YouTube channel and on Facebook as well. But go ahead, Twonta. You can finish out the article, love.
Oh, well, okay. Well, I was about to say, y'all can go ahead and read it. Oh, my goodness. Well, basically, when she got her first client, which was Cory Booker, Mayor Cory Booker in New Jersey, that's when things pretty much changed for her from that point on. She started receiving more clients and the money started happening for her. I'm trying to see where I left off. But she says that black women can have it all despite the ongoing conversations and unsolicited studies about how black women are 3 times as likely as white women never to marry. And she was saying this because her then boyfriend at the time, who's now her husband, has been supporting her from the beginning. When she's not working, the dudes are likely at AAU basketball games, having to, enjoying their personal life or whatever. Let's see. She also has a therapist that she goes to, which is smart. She said her therapy that has helped her manage her many hats because she's an entrepreneur, she's a wife, she's a mom. She got a lot going on in her personal life, so that's really smart to have a therapist that she can connect to that can help her with her life. So I'm trying to find what else here. She says she will continue to scale her business, but her next big task is elevating the next generation of diverse entrepreneurs. She said it's a major accomplishment that I made the incorporated list, but I am one of the only 8 black women in the PR category and the only one from New Jersey, she says. I feel that it speaks volumes to the work that is still needed to elevate diverse entrepreneurs, and it makes me even more passionate about continuing to do the work and to provide opportunities for not just myself but just for the next generation of black women in PR and entrepreneurship. So this is absolutely a phenomenal story here of this phenomenal, beautiful, gorgeous woman. She started, right in her house. She didn't have any connections, any ideas how to get it started. She said Uncle Google was her buddy. And, and one thing led to the next. It took a lot of work, a lot of consistency, as we just talked about, and a lot of prayer. And she didn't give up. And she did say that she had to continue working a 9-to-5 job, she had to work to pay, take care of bills and stuff before her PR really flourished. So again, her very, very well. And as a matter of fact, this is like, again, Tisha, this is something you were just talking about in regards to women in general, particularly black women, where they are not getting the promotion or the elevation that they rightfully deserve or have earned, for that matter.
Yeah, I've been talking about that for a very long time. You know, it's something
Yeah.
that's still very much so prevalent, even with all the education degrees. And yes, there are certain points or examples, experience where women of color have gotten their due right, you know, due accomplishments and things like that. But you know, when it
Yeah.
comes to a global level, there's still some work, you
It
know,
is.
that needs to get done. And I know Annette is on here, she'll say this: you got to show up at the table, you got to be present, you got to, you know, when it comes to like, and I'm saying this because a lot of times when there's being laws that's been put in place or changes that's happened, those things were put in place a year before, like, but you was, you know, sometimes we're not at the table representing ourselves, like we're not at the meetings or at the community board uh uh um events that come up, or even a political level. We'll show up for the big elections, like for the president, but for the small ones that happen in our local cities, we don't normally show up as much. So we got to be present. We got to advocate. We got to speak up. We got to show up. You know what I'm saying? And not all of a sudden have things just get laid on us. You step outside your house and you see all these new things happening. You're like, wait a minute, when did this all start? But we're not paying
Yeah.
attention, right? Two different things.
Right.
This just come from simple research. Like she said, she used Google. She went and did the research. She went and sat there and typed in keywords and things like that. Sometimes we don't even want to spend the time to do things like that. So
Yeah.
that's a whole nother thing. We sometimes we keep blame. You know, back in the day we said we're gonna blame the man. We're gonna blame the white man. All this stuff. We can't really say that anymore. You know,
No,
we
we
have
can't.
information
No.
at our fingertips to the point where if there's something that's happening, you know, locally in your area or your state or what have you, there's some laws that's being passed or certain things, and there's a vote coming up, or there's just, hey, we need signatures, we need this, we need that. Show up for those things. Show up for
Yeah.
those things. I know sometimes you may have to take off work, you may have to do this and that and the third, or even like if you can't do it, there's somebody at your church, there's somebody at your job, there's somebody somewhere you say, hey sis, I can't make it to this particular meeting or this particular event. Can you show up? Can you show up?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll take turns. You know, I know Annette and I were going to a I forgot what it's called, like a coffee with the cops event that's coming up on the 27th.
Mm.
We could pass out flyers, but not everybody wants to shows up. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And it's
Yeah.
sad. You know, we did a historical event at our church on Sunday. Not everybody show up. We gotta show up. People
Got to
shouldn't have
show
to
up.
call you or text you or remind you. Mark, put things on your calendar. Take the initiative. This young lady took the initiative. She didn't wait
Mhm.
for somebody to nag her. Hey girl, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. She didn't wait for somebody to motivate her. We have to motivate
Yeah.
ourselves to say,
Yeah.
hey, if they're not going to make the change, we got to be part of the change. We got to be part of
That's
the
right.
change. We got to be almost damn near annoying to the point to people say, hey, this is not right, and I wanted to change, or I'm out, or I'm moving on, or I'm going to create an opportunity for ourselves. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
it's
And
too
you
few of
know, she
us.
you're right. Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I'm very proud of her. She said, like, she was just very consistent. She knew this is what she was supposed to do. And she said she was just going to keep going. Um, I'm just saying what she said. And she said she worked a retail job for 3 years to make ends meet. And she said, however, as she continued balancing a career and building her brand, others took note and new clients started coming in. And her first big opportunity was for former Newark Mayor Cory Booker's nonprofit. And she said, I got that contract through the word of mouth. Okay, so it's people that they and the people that knows you, they see the integrity of your work, they see how consistent you are, they see that you are serious about what you do, and they like what you see. They see the results of what the hard work you put in, and when they see that, then they're definitely going to forward you to someone else. And that's pretty much how it started with her when she met former Mayor Cory Booker. And from there, she said that's when things started to really take flight for her, you know. And so, whatever goal, whatever dreams that you guys have, whatever you want to pursue in life, let this be your inspiration to keep going. You may not have all the information on on deck. You may not have gone to school for it or whatever. Hey, LaShawn, you may not have not gone to school, and that's okay. Because a lot of people having that issue. Well, I haven't gone to school for a while, so I don't know if I'm gonna, should pursue because that. Girl, go, You got YouTube, you got Google, you got all these resources out here known to man that could really educate you for free. And I'm not saying not to go to school. You could do that in the near future. But for now, if this is really burning in your heart and you want to definitely pursue in whatever area in your life you see yourself doing, just go ahead and get that free resource and start working on your baby. Start working on it day by day, little at a time, and watch how things will, all that hard work will pay off. That's what I'm saying. All that hard work will pay off, and still keep on working. Like she said, she was working at a retail job for several years. She didn't quit dead, cold turkey. She just kept doing what she had to do. So, I hope this story is inspiring you to definitely go ahead and make that next move to what, God has been telling you to do for quite some time. So I think that's all. Is that all, Therese? I think that's the only what's news we have for you for tonight and for this week. If so, then, we are going to conclude our show for tonight, for this week. So I hope you all had been blessed by the topic of the conversation tonight. And those who are watching the replay, thank you so much for hanging with us. We do appreciate you so much. And again, you're still welcome to comment based on what you have heard on based on our 2 points that we talked about tonight. But again, next week we will come back with the same topic, but the subtopic will be about children. Okay, it's going to be talking about children. Other than that, I am done. What about you, Tish? What you got to say before we
are good to go? Y'all have an amazing week. Okay, make it special, make it amazing. Have some fun this week and all the things. Share this out to everyone you feel that will benefit. This information will benefit. And again, we're going to be back here again on Sunday, coming up the 25th, I think it is, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're in a brand new season. I forgot to mention this. This is season 16, episode 1 of the Sister to Sisters Connection show. So we have been here for 16 seasons. So please support us by giving us a like, giving us a follow, giving us a share, giving us a subscribe, all the things. And we're going to keep moving forward. So thank you guys so much for joining us again. And we'll see y'all next week. Bye, guys.
Bye, y'all.